Hello everybody, so there's going to be a Geiger counter going throughout this entire stream. It's the one that I bought the other day thanks to all the generous donations I've had recently, either on Patreon or through YouTube Super Chat, so thank you very much to everybody that's donated. And yep, the Geiger counter is here. You'll hopefully be able to hear it ticking because it's got quite a loud speaker on it, but obviously we'll be doing tests with it throughout the video. I've got the alpha probe window open at the moment, so it'll be ticking slightly more. But in a moment, I will put the thing to the check source. Yep, remember to like the stream, everybody. Yeah, that is helpful. And let's get started. So there we go. So this is the probe for it, and as you can see, stuck to the side there is the check source, which is a bit of what's it called, Americanium. Yeah, it was £145. That's mostly because it's got the alpha probe on it. Yep, that is what I just said. That's the bit from the smoke detector on there. That's the check source Americanium. So yeah. Now what I can show you of this is if I put the cap back on the alpha probe. Let's just gently put that back on there. You'll notice, see, the gamma radiation from that is fairly low, because now I've got the cover on. I'm not getting the katana down, considering that's not the purpose of this stream. But yeah, notice the difference? It's actually just plastic, because all this does is block the alpha window. So you've only got a bit of beta and gamma going through it now. But yeah, without the cap on, quite a difference. I don't have any bananas. I'll definitely be doing a banana test when we've got some in the house, but at the moment there aren't any bananas. I did have a look. There's some apples, but they're not radioactive. So what I'm going to do in a moment is I will get some other radioactive materials out and we can run the probe across all of them and take a reading. So let's have a look, shall we? Alright, cool, Veli, thanks. If it's Veli, not sure pronunciation. Right. Let's get this where you can see it and it's not going to tip over. Tell you what, I wonder, let me just see something. Yeah, if I put that there, now I move the chair slightly. There we go. Hopefully you should be able to see the Geiger counter constantly in the screen. So, got the bag of radioactive goodies. Alright, let's try some uranium glass first, because this is, what, 3 grams of uranium glass it says? So, I'll do a reading first without the alpha shield, well, with the alpha shield on, then without. So, that's about 2 counts per second with the shield on. The shield there a second. With the shield off, between 5 and 10 counts a second it seems. Alright, cool. Sounds good, Laser Point Production, and thank you again for the super chat. No, because this is a much better counter than the DP66, and the DP66 doesn't work properly half the time. Alright, cool. Let me sort that out for you in a second, Mink and Match. Let me just put the radioactive specimen down I'm holding. No, the cap goes on there, doesn't it? I'll leave the alpha window open for a minute. Right. Can you stop spamming the chat, please, Tash? It's about a Geiger counter, as we've already said several times. Right, let me just move that uranium pottery out of my way. Right, thanks, Mink and Match. Let me just sort that out. So there's your Discord ID. Right, let me just sort that out for you, then I'll go back to the stream. No, I don't have a PRVU, but it's the one that's like the SHMS, isn't it? But for rocket crews. I don't have one, but I know what it is. I don't know, Kai, because it's only, what's it in bananas? Potassium. Right, Discord's just loading up. Right, let me do the friends thing. Friends, add friend. There's your Discord ID. Success. There's the pending one. Invite to server. You've been invited to the server. There you go. That's all done. Right, let's go back to the chat. Look up the nuclear Boy Scout just gaming. The answer is technically yes, but you'd probably be arrested before you got around to doing it. Right, so let's look at some more specimens, shall we? Okay. So, I'm out of interest going to see, because I've had this in the radioactive thing for now. It's on about 1.5 Rontgen at the moment, looking at that. I just wanted to see if I've irradiated the metal at all, but it seems to be totally cool. Right. For the person asking for a radium watch dial, yeah, I don't know if we've got any potassium supplements in the house at the moment. I've got some fish food, so I can test that, but sadly not on this stream. But again, I think it just depends what's in it. But when they say radioactive, it's probably not much about background level. So okay, here's an old German World War II radium watch. It's got a new case back on it. This isn't the original case back. But anyway, here's an interesting thing. So, That's on about 30 counts per second. And to give you an idea, it says on the side 1 milliröntgen an hour is 24 counts a second. So we're at least 1 milliröntgen an hour on this amount. Alright, so there we go. So that's that. Interestingly enough, you'll see the case back stops most of the radiation, because if I put it on this way round, notice the difference? But if it's facing the dial. Yeah, I'll do the Fiestaware in a minute. But at the moment, this is an old Radium watch dial. So, here's an interesting thing. Obviously, if I put the shield back on that stops alpha radiation getting through, I don't actually know if this is a proper shield for this Geiger or if somebody's just got like a little plastic lid from a cap and put it on. But anyway, get this one. See, the counts are about between 5 and 10 per second now, not 20 to 30. So it's amazing how much higher a reading you get with the alpha radiation coming out of the glass. Certainly Kill Strike Gaming. Right, okay. Now let's look at the Fiestaware. So there we go, chunk of Fiestaware. And as you know, this is pretty hot even without the alpha shield open. That's getting close to 100 counts per second. Yeah, I've got an English Mickey Mouse mask, not the American one, for obvious reasons. Right, now let's do this with the alpha shield off. Out between 150 and 200 counts per second. Right, so that's the Fiestaware. Right, what should we do next? There's my thorium bag, but this has got some stuff in it, the thorium mantle, so let me open it and then we can test the things individually. Right, let me just pop these onto the table. They want to fall out. Right, anyway, here's another bit from a smoke alarm. I just answered your question, Tash. Okay, Mike, you might have to do some timeouts though, I'm afraid, because we've had a few people just spamming the chat about stuff today. Right, so there's the bit of... now this is a really interesting one. It being the... it's like the bit on the side, the Geiger counter bit, a bit smaller. So it's the bit of Americinium or American, whatever it's called. So as you can see, getting nearly to 2,000 counts a second. Now, this is the interesting thing. That's nearly all alpha radiation. So, as soon as you put the cover back on, put that same bit there. Notice we're only getting like 3 counts per second. Notice a huge difference there. That's what amazes me with this. How much alpha comes off Americinium, or American, whatever we call it. That, you know, you put that on there. Right, so that's pretty radioactive is what we've learnt from that. Yeah, you can get Geiger counters off eBay, that's where I bought this one. Yeah, this is the thing I love about mechanical Geiger counters with the proper old dial. I love the ticking they make. What about the Polish MP5? They're alright masks, Michael, but sometimes you can get them in bad condition. So, if you're buying them, just be careful. Because some bits of the masks don't sort of hold up very well, if that makes sense. Like the lens. I think it's quite a good mask, but only if you get one in good condition. Right, let me get this bit out of there. Right. Here's an old Radium watch dial. But this one doesn't have as much Radium paint left on it as the German World War II one does. I've got some thorium coming in the post as well. What, as in EMF meters disguised as Geiger counters, or missold as Geiger counters, laser point? Because obviously if you're buying an EMF meter knowing it's an EMF meter for not much money, they're quite good EMFs, but again, you know, not if you bought it expecting a Geiger counter. No, Israeli filters are good. Right, here's an old Radium watch dial that's not got that much paint on it. As you can see, not a massively high reading on the Geiger counter. This is an old Belova one. Watch my videos, Tash, rather than asking very repetitive questions, because it's getting quite irritating now. Right, thorium lamp mantle. Oh, the yellow ones, unfortunately, Michael, the old US Civil Defence ones, they are very hard to find in the UK. But this is a lab spec one, so it's actually made to better sort of quality control. With the US ones, they're a lot more like my Polish one, the DP66, because they were designed so you could flick a switch for different multipliers, and they were for sort of basically troops in the field or whatever. This one is very accurate, reporting up to 2,000 counts per second for checking stuff in a lab. Right, let's see what else we've got here that would be interesting for, like I said, go back to this watch one again, because that's good. But I'll tell you what would interest people. The uranium glass bowl. I've had everything sitting in there, and I've not even tested the bowl yet, so obviously the Fiestaware is what makes it go really high in there. I don't know, there's something so satisfying, isn't there, about a mechanical ticking Geiger counter with the radio static sort of noise it makes. I have no idea. Strontium's radioactive, isn't it? Laser point, but without testing it with a Geiger counter, I really wouldn't know. Because the very interesting thing is when you've got an alpha probe, there's lots of radiation you can pick up you otherwise can't. As I've already said a few times, Weapon Survival, sadly I don't have any bananas in the house at the moment. Tell you what, if you guys want me to quickly go get some fish food, I'll do that. Right, I'll be back. Let me just put the thorium mantle over here so you can listen to it tick while I'm in the other room. Yeah, strontium-90 was one of the things they worried about being in milk, didn't they? Once, depends on the Geiger counter, Defiant Shackleton. This is an accurate lab one in counts per second, so if there's any radiation whatsoever, you'd pick it up. Right, so here's some fish food. It's in an aquarium tub, but it's not actually aquarium fish food. I bought a cheaper brand because you can buy like 4 bags of it for the price of aquarium. But, right, let's see if we get a reading from this. I think it's pretty much just background level fish food. Again, it depends what's in it, but... Again, if it's like less than 1 mg of potassium in the original food per, you know, like gram. Right, I'll put the fish food away later. There's no point me doing it now, but yeah, well, also bear in mind in the Pacific Ocean, the US conducted loads and loads of nuclear tests, and lots of the nuclear runoff from Fukushima went into the Pacific Ocean, so that might be... Well, unfortunately, every radioactive substance I've currently got in the house has been done now on this video, as far as I'm aware, but this can just be a stream where we talk about regular stuff as well now. But I did want to give the Geiger counter a good demonstration to begin with. So, for anybody interested, let me just put the, before I put it away. Now, interestingly enough, the back plate of these smoke alarm things doesn't set a Geiger counter off, but as soon as it flips over, simple reason being that the aluminium or whatever they store these in, the aluminium itself obviously blocks the alpha radiation coming through. I'm planning soon, probably this week, Lava Llama, on going over some of the like cheap dust cycling style masks available on the market and if they're any good or not. Well, I'm not going outside the house now to get a rock, but whenever I've taken Geiger counters outside before, the radiation levels have been pretty much identical to... Sometimes radiation levels outside are actually less than inside just because there's like less radon gas outside. But anyway, yeah. So, let's put all of this stuff back in the bag. Alright, so put the old radium watch dial in there. And oh, you've got some nice ambient ticking, haven't you, Peach? Yeah, this is one that does alpha, beta and gamma, Michael. Most military Geiger counters don't do alpha, because for alpha you need this big kind of mesh probe on the end, which is quite delicate, and I think they cost a lot more to make, so most military Geiger counters don't have the alpha probe. The, you know, like, most... If I get my SOX one out, I'll show you that. Just bear with me a second. Let me put that there. Right. Well, alpha's very dangerous if it gets into you, Shackleton, but yeah, alpha is essentially the one that will find it hardest to get into your body because it needs to get in through being ingested through a cut or, you know, inhaled. But if it does get into your body, alpha is incredibly dangerous. You know, what was I going to say? You know the, little bit of smoke alarm stuff I showed, that little tiny bit of americinium, whatever it's called. With that, apparently if you eat one of those, you generally will die from cancer within 10 to 20 years. You know, something that's like probably 0.1 of a gram. That's how dangerous alpha is once it... Yeah, because it can't get out exactly. apparently you actually will, if you eat one of those, because people have done it, and obviously they've observed what happens to people who have done things like this with the Darwin Award. You poop out the actual bit of americinium within a few days of eating it, but the problem is the damage to your body's already been done. So you'll get higher chances of leukemia from damage to bone marrow, very high chances of testicular cancer. You know, the things go on so much, but yeah. Right, so yeah, well, I don't know, I just love the Geiger counters white noise thing laser. I don't know, I just really like it. It's the thing is though, like I was saying, the problem with these modern digital ones, as much more practical as they are, the like little synth tick noise is nowhere near as cool as that noise, is it? Right, Fiestaware, let me show you. So, Fiestaware, bear in mind this would be part of a plate or a cup. If you Google Fiestaware, you'll see it. This was the one they called radioactive red. It's more like an orange, but they called it radioactive red. So, Fiestaware was where they had this brilliant idea that if they painted uranium, you know, like uranium, like this bowl's got a uranium glaze, they basically thought that it made the plates look pretty, you know, it gave them a nice sheen. You can get blue Fiestaware and yellow Fiestaware as well, but this was the one that had the most uranium paint on, the red, sort of orange one. So basically, they painted uranium glaze onto pottery, you know, like cups and saucers and everything to eat and drink off of. So, obviously, you know, I think anybody in the modern world, microwaves do not give off ionizing radiation. They give off electromagnetic frequencies. I'll show you an EMF meter in a minute. But yeah, I've done that on the video. But yeah, this is the interesting thing. But so you know, they thought, oh, this is cool. Let's make pottery and paint it with uranium. Now, what do you think the problem is, anybody with a brain, about eating food off of radioactive plates? Anybody guess? But yeah, this is why. That's at about 150 counts per second. So, right, according to this, 1 millirontgen an hour is 24 counts per second. 1 microsievert an hour is 2.2 counts a second. So if it gets to around 200, that means that obviously my maths isn't very good. Let's just round it to 200. It means that you're getting nearly 100 microsieverts an hour, or just under 10 millirontgen per hour. Yeah, but exactly. But if you, like Michael says, if you're using a food where the food absorbs some of that radiation off of the plate, or you eat a little chip of the plate comes off, well, you're doomed. So let's go into the measuring mode of the Fiestaware. I've done it with this one before, but I'll tell you what, now I've got the one with the alpha probe, I'll just amuse you. See, dangerous. I'll just amuse you and do it with the one with the alpha probe, and we'll just see if we get anything, shall we? So, let's have a look. We'll just have a bit more squash. Right, GP5. Oh, I'll tell you what, let's do this road sign. No, it's totally fine. GP5. Totally fine. PDF. totally fine. PTM1, totally fine. GP4, totally fine. Y2K, totally fine. White PTM1. Is that slightly higher than normal, or am I imagining that? Well, if that is radioactive, it's so minimally radioactive it wouldn't matter. Black GP5M. Fine, let's just do the SLR. Yeah, that's fine. So as you can see, none of that stuff is radioactive, as you'd expect. I'll do my German World War II mask that's hanging up just in case. But no, not radioactive. I'm just gonna, it's over the other side of the room and I've got glue on it, so I'm not gonna pick it up, but I'll just, out of interest again, run the Geiger over the German fireman's helmet. But no, we're at background levels of radiation, so basically, yeah, it's not impossible that there could be gas masks that are radioactive, but I just seriously doubt it, because most of them just come from warehouses in surplus stock. So anyway, let's pop this back on here. We'll flick this one off for now. I'll put the cap back on. Then, if you're interested, I will show you the information here. Ooh, really knocked my glasser off. So, if you just wanted to see the conversion table, because this one's only got counts per second on here, it doesn't give you doses. You refer to the counts per second to work out the dose. So you can see microsievert and milliröntgen at the bottom. There's one right here, Shackleton. And the SOEX one is a combined Geiger and dosimeter, because it shows you your cumulative radiation since you last reset it, and what it's currently picking up. Yeah, radioactives, not radioactives, X-rays do give off quite a lot of radiation. The one above the GP4, that's a Y2K respirator. You know, like the ones they used in Chernobyl? It's like the Soviet dust mask kind of thing. Works better than a lot of Western dust masks, to be fair, because it actually has a proper valve assembly in it, but... Tell you what, Pedro, I've not got cigarettes, but if it's meant to be the tobacco that's radioactive, I can test that. Right. Because I've still got loads of these and things laying around since when I used to smoke. No. I'm just going to enjoy eau de cigar. But, I need to take the cap back off, don't I? Let's grab him off. Right, let's have a look and see. Is this going to be radioactive? Nope. Cigarillos certainly aren't radioactive, there you go. So, as in when you smoke it. Okay, Ben. Right, that's interesting, but yeah, I'm not going to light one up to test that. I'll try one more box just to make sure, but... As you can see, there's enough cigars in there that should... I've only had 2 out of this bloody box before I quit. What a shame. Right. But yeah, as you can see, definitely no radiation to cigars, at least when they're in like tobacco form anyway. Drawer closed without knocking anything over. Cigarette filters, I don't know. They certainly wouldn't block any vapours, because they're literally like particulate filters. Oh, that's cool. The wristwatch dosimeters would probably be similar to this thing, Michael. This is one where you actually look through it to check it. Basically, you hold it up to the light, and then it tells you what the dose is since it's last been reset. But yeah, you get those in different forms. You get ones that are like film badges that are put into a reader. You know, there's lots of ways you can do dosimeters. And the most practical modern ones are ones like this, where you can have both a Geiger and a dosimeter built into one. So it shows you how much radiation you're currently receiving and what your total dose has been since you last reset it. Yep, pretty much any gas mask with a particle filter in Gulf War will protect you from alpha radiation, because it's just literally a dust mask. Right. Technically, Adam, although the words tend to be used interchangeably a lot, a Geiger counter is something like this, which is... See, that's what it says, GM, Geiger millimeter. So, what a Geiger counter does is it shows you active amounts of radiation. So, basically, that's why it has counts per second. They either say counts per second or counts per minute. So, how it works is that it basically detects radiation entering it. So it doesn't log radiation. All a Geiger counter does is it tells you what you're currently being exposed to. It's a bit like if you were in a car and you had a speedometer, and the speedometer said 70, that's the speed you're currently doing. It's not logging all the speeds you've done. That's probably a very bad analogy, but there you go. A dosimeter, like you get dosimeters in all shapes and sizes, a dosimeter records the amount of radiation that's entered it. So more radiation it's exposed to, the higher the number or the faster the bar or whatever in the dosimeter moves. But a dosimeter doesn't tell you how much radiation is currently in the air, but it tells you how much you've been exposed to. £145 Bing, so a big thank you to everybody that gave me donations recently, because that's what it went towards, a Geiger counter. I think Laser asked a question, let me just go back to it. Would a 0.5 micron water filter work as a particulate filter? To a degree, yes. Well, I mean, I don't know about the particular one you're asking about, but we've got a Brita filter at home. And that does block things like limescale, because the actual limescale can't get through the particulate filter. It's fairly old from the look of it, but it's good. It's like an actual lab spec one. Looking at the back, Indiana is where it's from. It did have a US shipping box. So it's made in England. This is funny, right? Let's look at this. If the label shows, it was made in England in Essex. However, it's Indiana University, so this was made in England, went to the States, and then has come back. Yeah, I've already filmed a video on the Y2K Ethan, it's just not gone up yet because my videos are filmed quite a long time in advance now. Right, the clothes themselves, right, bear in mind Gulf War, right, so let's just start at the beginning with alpha radiation, right, in terms of how it gets into your body. It can only get into your body if you ingest it, as in eat it, you inhale it, which is the most common thing as if it's dust, you obviously breathe it in, or if you've got a cut and it gets onto the cut. So normally, let's say you're just wearing a respirator, either like, it could just be a dust mask as long as it makes a proper fit. I don't know if it can get in through your eyes as well. So let's say you've got goggles on, you've got a dust mask, you're not eating or drinking anything at the time, and you don't have any cuts anywhere on your body. Alpha radiation can't get into your body. Now, this is the thing I think what you're getting at. alpha can stick to clothes, as in the dust physically sticks to the clothes. So what you actually need for protection from alpha radiation is just basically some sort of dust suit or something that you can wash off easily. Because the danger is with alpha radiation, of course, it could stick to your clothes. When you take the protective gear off, that alpha radiation kicks back into the air as dust, and then you inhale it once you remove your mask. Yeah, I don't really care, being as said I'm not getting involved in internet drama. Well, like I said, Gulf War, any clothes will stop it. It's just clothes you know, so like in the actual nuclear industry, that's why they all wear those white gowns. Because they're like dust suits, basically. They're just very cheap clothing that is either disposable or very easy to decontaminate. No laser, I wasn't. Laser tags, all that is. I really don't follow E3 Bartels, I couldn't care less. I like games, don't get me wrong, but I have no care about the publicity stuff around the games. Because a lot of the time E3 seems to just be like paying crowds of people to scream and, you know, it's more like an actual show, isn't it, than an actual thing demonstrating what's in the games. And most of the games never look like the E3 footage, so I just can't give less of a shit about E3 if I was honest. Right, so here's the thing, like I was saying, any clothes will stop alpha radiation, because alpha can't even penetrate your skin. Now, beta and gamma, this is where it gets difficult. Gamma, I don't think any normal clothing would ever stop gamma radiation, because gamma radiation is, right, so gamma, just trying to explain it, it's like an X-ray, basically. It's ionizing radiation, it shoots through things, it's like a ray. So the only thing that stops gamma normally is thick bits of lead or thick bits of concrete, whatever. So, basically, with gamma radiation, no normal clothes will stop it, because most regular clothes don't contain thick pieces of lead or whatever. Now, beta's the one where it's a bit more borderline. I did a video recently testing things, you know, with beta radiation. Beta can't penetrate aluminium when it's a certain distance thick. But, you know, like, some clothing and some thick rubbers will stop beta radiation depending on how thick they are. So this is where it gets complicated. If you're wearing quite a lot of layers, and they were like, especially cold weather clothing layers, I think it would stop the beta radiation. But it certainly wouldn't stop gamma. Yeah, Golfer, what they did is they used literally like leather roof scraps kind of stuff. Like leather, not leather, sorry, lead. They wore like just the lead scraps from rooftops and bits from the other reactors they like pulled apart. So they could just use lead shielding and make it into clothes. But they weren't properly made clothes. They were where they just, you know, like the egg baskets and whatever else. You can literally buy Y2K masks on eBay, search Y2K, there's a Russian seller selling them. No, leather does not stop gamma. Thick leather might stop beta if it's thick enough. It would certainly stop alpha, it will not stop gamma. Right, let me give you a demonstration of gamma radiation going through stuff. So, I'm trying to think which of the things I've got here give off a decent amount of gamma radiation. None of them give off a huge amount, obviously, because they're safe to have in the house. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this plastic cover back on there. Right, so as you can see, that's probably mostly gamma going through there. So, let's get my hand here, and let's put this here. Obviously now, there is a distance thing going on here, because my hand takes up space. So, it might be, let me just use my fingers. I think this is more of a spacing thing. Yeah. But what you might be able to see from this is, this isn't a particularly strong source of gamma radiation, but you are still getting a bit travel through my hands there, so let's just try Fiestaware and see what happens with that. So I'll put my hand on there again like that. Again, it sometimes seems to depend a bit on distance. Well, obviously it does, because that's how radiation works, but time, distance, exposure, but I assume this is mostly beta coming off of this then, because my hand seems to be stopping a lot of it. Yeah, so this is beta rather than gamma, or predominantly giving out beta. But yeah, the point is that with a lot of radioactive substances, I can show you the mask in the background actually quite easily. Let me just do that now. The point I'm trying to get at is that basically some of the protective clothing isn't as protective as you might think, because it's mostly designed for alpha radiation. So if I get the Geiger counter, and then what I'm going to do is, you can see the GP4 here, can't you? I'm going to put the tube from this Geiger counter into the GP4's face like that. Then I'm going to hold this bit up to there. If I can get the angle right. Now again, it's probably not all that easy to demonstrate there, but you can probably hear that it's clicking through there, because it's not, a mask like that is not thick enough to stop a, you know, bit of radiation coming through. But yeah, especially if you're interested in clothing, I can demonstrate that pretty easily. Right, so, tell you what I'll do. Right, if I get my sleeve, what I can do is I'll put the Geiger counter probe. It's probably easier to do this with the SOX one than this one, but it's going to be fairly difficult actually. Alright, I'll do it at the bottom of my shirt there, right. So as you can see, there is the Geiger counter's tube going through my shirt. See that? Then regular clothing won't do anything to protect you. That's the point I'm getting at, at least not from beta and gamma. Depends which country it happens in. I think entirely just gaming are now. Probably about a decade, I guess, some random guy. Well, I'll be on Twitch when you're on, Mike. I'll be watching some of that. But again, I think it totally depends on the country. I think some countries would be very good and efficient at dealing with disasters, and I think others wouldn't. Oh, thank you very much, Michael Campbell. Right, for preppers, where you want an actual practical use for it, something like this, the SOX one. The reason being that the old Geiger counters have lots and lots of very old parts in them that can go wrong, and they're harder to get replacement parts for, and take up a lot of space and weight. Something like this, as much as people worry about EMP kind of stuff, they just take AAA batteries, or, you know, some will be AA different models, but these do beta and gamma, which is basically what you're going to want if you're worried about something. Because as I said, although alpha is a problem, the stuff to detect it becomes much harder. So yeah, something like this is good because you can get rechargeable batteries for it, or you can just get loads of spare batteries. And then this is both a dosimeter and a Geiger counter combined, which the older models can't really do. So basically, you see it do the loading up thing there. It's saying weight there. And then it's basically, it gives you the thing. So where it says normal, that's the amount of background radiation at the moment. If I put something in front of it, you'll see it in moment update. Get dangerous, see, because it knows you're being exposed to much higher levels than background radiation. And this has two functions on this. It's got dose as well, but yeah. So let me just reset it to 0. In the options, there's just a thing where you can click set to 0, so you can reset it after you've played about with it. So basically, right, so it's reset. So you've got your measuring mode. The dangerous bit will go off in a minute when it realises I'm not holding it up to anything anymore. So measuring is where it's giving you your cumulative dose, or like dose over a certain amount of time. Searching, this is quite good. This is more like the Geiger counter function, where you see it spike on there when it sees a bit of radiation. And then the bit that says dose on there, That's the one where it shows you so far what you've been exposed to. And remember, obviously, I reset it just now. But let's say I keep it on the dose thing, and then put some Fiestaware next to the Geiger counter. Hang on a second. You'll see that will start updating in a moment. I'll just show you some of the other modes on it. So searching, you can see the spikes and things, so when the Fiestaware goes next to it, you'll see that like red bar chart thing shows you stuff like that. And then obviously if I put a different radioactive source next to it, you'll then be able to judge, you know, on the size of the spikes, how radioactive or not it is compared to the last thing. So you can see that this thorium mantle is actually less radioactive than the Fiestaware is. So there we go. So yeah, if you wanted a practical Geiger counter with a combined dosimeter for prepping things, these SOEX ones are very good. There's other brands as well, and these are normally about £100 plus, depending on which model you go for. But old Geiger counters aren't cheap either. Like I said, that was £145. When I got my Polish DP66, that was like 60 or 70 sort of pounds price, and they've now gone up to like 150 odd pounds. So in general, these actually cost less than a lot of the older Geiger counters, and they're a lot more reliable in the sense they, you know, use modern stuff, so they're lightweight, and they do everything you want. So hopefully that's answered your question. Thanks again for the donation. I'm just going to see if I missed anything while I was answering that one in the chat. This seems very accurate. I mean, this does do counts per second, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure it does. Let's have a look. Because if it does counts per second, I can compare the accuracy to that one. But did you say, Laser, something about could they make lead in clothing? I think they, you know, there would be a way of doing it, or they could put boron or something else in it. Right. So let me just go on to searching and see if I can get it out from here. Just seeing if I can work out which is the one that gives you the clicks per second, because it's obviously you can physically hear it clicking, so it is recording the amount of clicks, but I'm trying to remember which bit you go on this to look at the clicks. So where that's 20, that might mean, I know that's more than, or is that 20 clicks a second? That could be 20 clicks per second, actually. But, anyway. Yeah, £18 is a very good price for an FMJ05. Now let's put this one on and compare the accuracy. I might have to hold it a little bit further back. Actually, if I put it like that, then it's not going over the little hole in the cap. Yeah, see, that's nearly at 20. So that was a very similar reading to this one, wasn't it? So if that was the clicks per second, then they do seem fairly accurate. But I think you're going to have to go into the very expensive price range before you get the really accurate little Geiger counters. But you don't need anything that accurate, because you're not, if you're using it for a prepping kind of purpose, I don't think you're really going to be worried about the exact dose of radiation. You know, you're more worried, is it a dangerous amount? And the Geiger count will certainly tell you that, even if it's not as accurate per, you know, counts per second or counts per minute as some of the other models. It would still do its job. You know, it's not where you need to be precise. If you were working in a lab and you needed very specific numbers, then yes, I think you'd probably be better off paying more for like a lab model. But things like the SOEX ones are absolutely fine. I'm not sure, Killstrike Gaming, I'll be on for a little bit longer. Apparently it's an industry versus military thing, Alex. I'm pretty sure the military ones had the metal voice diaphragms, the industry ones had the plastic voice diaphragms, but otherwise they're the exact same mask. Yeah, you mean the SHM1 Gulf War, just the one known as the SHM1, or the SHM, yeah, that is expensive. What's the point in me streaming on Twitch, Laser Taser? Everybody watches me on YouTube. There's really no point me going onto a different platform to stream on. I don't know, to me the radiation symbol looks like a fan, but I don't know what the radiation symbol is actually meant to be of. No, they wouldn't do something different like that being for military and military and like different parts of the military. No, it's because they made a lot of masks, from everything I've heard from Polish people on YouTube anyway, that you know, like some of the Soviet masks designs were made for industry, but they used different things to differentiate the industrial from military models. Most masks, no. I mean, if you store them where sunlight hits them every day, yes, it will damage the mask over time. But if you mean, are you worried about taking the mask out in the sun, you don't need to be worried about that whatsoever. Yeah, but the majority of masks, unless you're storing them in direct sunlight, it's never a problem. The FMJ05's voice diaphragm is pretty good, actually. I don't think you have to worry about it tearing any point soon. Yeah, that makes sense. So the circle is the radioactive thing, and the three little triangles are like the radioactive energy coming off of them. There's probably sites that specify in it, Michael, but I don't think they'd be any better than necessarily getting on eBay. Let me have a look on eBay and just see if there's any SOX counters from a decent price. Right, I found the exact model I have. I can't tell you if this is a seller that's any good or not whatever, but there's plenty of SOX ones for sale on eBay, some from sellers with good feedback. But here's a link to the exact one I have. There you go. Yeah, I'll definitely do that at some point, Laser Point. I might see if I can rig up like a construction helmet. Do you mean like a plastic one or the metal ones? But I could do either. But yeah, I'll have a look at different construction helmets, because I'm also interested how well they'd fit or not fit with certain respirators. You also get, like, the rock climbing helmets as well, don't you? I don't know if they'd be any good. Plastic ones, alright. Yeah, I'll have a look at some point a bit later and see if I can spot one that looks fairly decent. Because, you know, looking at some of these quickly, I wouldn't know. You can get some for £3.95, but I don't know if these are particularly good or bad ones. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of minimum standard they have to be made to, but I imagine there are some that are more durable than others. Logging helmet. Okay, let me look up a logging helmet, because if it's a similar thing but stronger, I'll get one of those. Because I know with construction helmets, all they're designed to do is stop something hitting your head from destroying your head, aren't they? I'll have to try and find a full head logging one though, because some of them are like just a bit for the visor. But yeah, I'll look into that a bit later. Yeah, the reason is laser is because of how the harness inside works, because they've got a lot of empty space in them. And then the plastic bit that sits on your head it kind of works almost like a suspension system, where most of the force goes into the helmet in the empty space. For example, if you got a construction helmet and you actually filled the entire thing with foam, it would be less effective, because that's sort of how a lot of medieval helmets were constructed as well, where there was dead space between the outside of the helmet and where the head harness is, because that space means some of the force goes into making the helmet move a bit like that, rather than just going straight into your head. Yeah, Daniel, let me show it you. There we go, I've cleaned it up. I've started putting some, in there, bubble wrap for when I put my radioactive materials in there. I don't think I'm going to need to bother doing lead shielding. Out of interest though, what I can test, let's just get a bit of Fiestaware, pop that in, close this tin up, and let's see if we get any readings through it. No, I don't think I'm going to even need to put the lead shielding in here, because if you can hear that, the Geiger's not really picking anything up from Fiestaware being in there like that. The problem is with lead paint is it's harmful for other reasons. You know, like it makes people go insane. Probably because he was trying to scam people, I imagine. That's what normally happens with people doing that with masks. What are you on about, Pedro? Alright, see ya, Killstrike. Well, I don't know, but it would kill the plant or tree or whatever if it was exposed to enough radiation. Alright, see you if you're off. Right, I'll tell you what my very next video will be, as in the one on Wednesday, because I can look that up for you now, what I've got scheduled. Right, just to let you know, it was reading 0.77 on the outside of that glass, so with the thing, I'm just wondering if it will also get... Yeah, see, that's... I should need to put the thing on, don't I, to make it accurate, otherwise I'm getting alpha readings, which... Yeah, let's try that again, okay. So... Yep. That's getting to about 1 or just under. The other Geiger counter was getting to like 0.8, so yeah. These are pretty similar in terms of readings. Obviously I trust this one more because it's a lab spec one, but yeah, the SOEX one doesn't seem inaccurate by any means. At some point I'll do a few other ones where I can probably, if I get the Polish DP66 working reliably, I can probably do all three testing certain things, you know, with beta and gamma and see if they all give similar readings. I suppose that's how you calibrate them. Right, anyway, my video for Wednesday. Let me check for you. It is Soviet SS Leto Partisan Camo test in the summer. No, today booked off work as holiday because I had a rehearsal, so I had a 4-hour sort of play rehearsal. Yeah, the Red Forest died before everything else. Well, not necessarily everything else, but you know what I mean, the trees died there really quickly just because of the amount of radiation that was like directly in the path from the plant. to Pripyat. So all of the radiation hitting the forest obviously just killed everything, basically. Yeah, if you've got a question, ask it. Don't say, can I ask a question? Because otherwise you're just wasting a post. So yeah, ask a question then. We've gone off the subject of Geiger counters quite a lot already by the end of this stream. Don't try and post links in the chat, Daniel. I don't know why it is, but I'm not clicking on it. Normally YouTube hides the links, but still. Oh, if they had fertilisers that had polonium in, surely the actual tobacco itself would be radioactive, not just the smoke. Airbows, right, so basically, in the UK, as far as I'm aware, airbows are legal. However, most of them cost like £1 up, so I've never had any interest in them. They look really cool, don't get me wrong. But, you know, if they're at that price range, I just do not see the point in them. Because you either buy a crossbow or buy a real gun. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, in theory I think they're quite cool, but only if the prices of them get down to sort of a decent PCP air rifle price. It's going to depend on how many microamps batteries you put in there, like with rechargeables. It will last a good few hours if I fully charge the AAAs I've got in here, and they are Amazon Basics ones, so not exactly high-end rechargeable batteries. Does it say how many microamps these are? 800 microamps. 1.2 volt, 800 microamps. So if you get ones that are better than these, they will last even longer. You can charge this as well via USB, if you get that kind of one that the PS3 controllers had. Or you can put the batteries into a battery charger separately. But yeah, you could. This is a pretty convenient Geiger counter to recharge. Over 100, some random guy, I don't know the exact number anymore. As far as I'm aware, countries like Malaysia normally buy surplus from other countries, so I don't actually know, Adam. I know the Philippines was using mostly American masks, but I don't know about Malaysia. Which are the radioactive beaches? That sounds interesting, Alexander, but where are they? Because I've never even heard about this before. Right, you've got a few options, Michael. eBay is sometimes a good place, but sometimes not. One of the places that's surprisingly good is hardware stores, either like physical stores or hardware stores that have online websites. Because lots of hardware stores obviously sell filters with the expectation that people need the filters for using them for work. So they're like brand new, properly wrapped filters with a long date. Because don't forget that if you're buying a 40mm NATO mask, RD40 industrial filters are the same connector. So they work on the same masks. So, yeah, check places like Screwfix and stuff like that. I think a lot of them don't always stock RD40 filters, but they do definitely stock respirator filters for certain brands. There are sometimes like 3M ones and whatever. eBay is good if you look for hardware sellers through eBay. On Amazon you can sometimes get RD40 filters as well. But yeah, in general, eBay is alright depending on the seller, but Amazon sometimes stock them. And, you know, like some hardware stores sometimes stock them. But, yeah, if you search RD40 filter as in Romeo Delta 40, that's basically the industrial name for 40mm NATO. So if you got one that was an ABEC 2 P3 RD40 filter, that's the same as getting a very good military NBC filter, or CBRN filter. It's just that, you know, it's not being marketed as a military filter, but essentially it's the exact same thing. Don't think I've got any convenient, I'm afraid. I was going to see if I could quickly show you. Actually, I might be able to. Bear with me. Right, yeah. I'll quickly show you the one in my Avon CT12 bag. What about RD40 filters laser point? Or what? Because what about Australia? Or did I miss somebody's question? Right, so there's my Avon CT12. I've got an open old S10 style filter just to put on it if I'm using it for anything minor. But yeah, here's an industrial RD40 ABEC 2 P3 filter. So yeah, this is basically to the same standards, if not better, than a lot of military grade CBRN filters. It actually offers better protection than these old Avon filters. If you see the size difference, it's got more filter medium, and this can deal with ammonia, where I don't think these are ammonia rated. But yeah, that's interesting, Alexander. But yeah, so sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll find filters like this on eBay that are getting sold very cheap because they don't have long left on the expiry date. So places want to sell them off while they can still, you know, make a bit of money from them. Yep, as I thought I already said this to you, some random guy, but you can buy 60 to 40mm converters, unless it was somebody else that asked that on the same day you were asking about your mask. But yeah, on eBay, search 60 to 40mm filter converter, and you can literally get like a plastic or metal thing that converts the filters to the different size. Right, no problem, Michael. Thank you for your donation as well earlier. And everybody else that's been donating, because I do appreciate that. You know, like I said, it helps me buy stuff like the Geiger counter to do videos on. As in, can you fit an FP3 filter to a GP5? It totally depends if you get one that's in GOST or NATO. No, I don't think I have AP3 filters. What are they? Is that a water thing? Because when I'm looking at it, there's like 3M stuff coming up. So yeah, what's this thing then? Laser? Looks interesting. I see AP3 head to fit 3M in sync. So is it like an actual water filter for your tap or something like that? Yeah, the problem with those Chinese refillable filters, Adam, is that the filter volume is very small to begin with. So it might in theory be able to work if it had very good high quality carbon in there, but it doesn't. It's like got very cheap nasty carbon in there. So it's a combination of two problems really. It's a very small filter by volume, and the filter medium they put in it is crap. So that combines together to make a useless filter. A3P3. As in what, just a thing that's like organic gas level 3 and particulate free sort of filter? If so, then what does that big red Polish filter, is that like ABEC 3 P3, or because I've got that big Polish red filter, but I don't have like a single filter that's an A3 P3 one like some of those really big ones. I've just found one on Google Image that's like an old Soviet looking one, or a modern Russian one that says A3 P3, that's like really tall but just got the brown label on it. Yeah, so it is organic vapor level 3, particle level 3. Other than that big red Polish one, no. As in a military tank with oxygen tanks, well, they do have overpressure military NBC systems. I think it might be the PMKS Jacob, or that one that's the really lightweight kind of fabric-y one. I think different branches have different masks, and I don't think they're entirely standardised. That's interesting. The thing is, although they're rated A3, I imagine they would work like to probably a B1, C1 kind of level anyway. Because I have found that most filters I've used that aren't rated for certain things do tend to block the odours and everything else coming through for other things. But, you know, not that I'd really want to risk using them in a serious life or death scenario like that, but, you know, I'm saying they probably are a bit more versatile than just organic vapour as well. If you want to filter for most things, organic vapour and particulates is the most likely thing you're going to encounter with, like, bad smells and black mould and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, sounds good. Right, let me close this back up. There we go. I'll pop the SOX away once the stream ends. Yeah, I'll finish the stream off fairly soon because it's been an hour and 15 minutes. I very much doubt that, Lenovo. I mean, I don't know if genetically, over thousands of years, a stronger tolerance would build up. However, radiation gives you genetic damage, so at the same time it probably means your children would, with each generation, have more and more health problems. So in that case, certainly not. But no, I think with radiation, generally the more you're exposed to it, the worse your health is going to be. Like, best gas mask under £20 in the UK at the moment. One of the best masks that's even under £10 are like Czech CM3s and Polish MC1s, so I'd say one of those. It's generally impregnation of the filter media, Adam. So let's say you've got an ABEC filter, like ABEK, organic vapour, inorganic vapour, acidic gases and ammonia gases. Basically it's stuff they mix in with the charcoal. So generally organic vapour is just charcoal with nothing mixed in with it. Inorganic vapour is normally like one kind of metal they'll mix in with it, and then others are different. So like ABEC filters are generally like a mix of different things mixed in with the charcoal, if that makes sense. No, I don't have any gas masks that would fit a baby, Daniel. The closest I have is those Soviet PDF children's masks. One of my next door neighbours before she died, she thought somewhere she had a British baby World War II gas mask, you know, with like the little hand air pump on the side. And she said I could have it if she ever found it, and then sadly she went into a home and died before, you know. I mean, that's sad, full stop. She was a lovely lady, but, you know, she never did find where that gas mask was. But, you know, that's the closest I've come to getting an actual baby's gas mask. Alright, cool, Mike. Yeah, I'll see you at 10:30 PM then. Right, I'll finish this stream now. So thank you to everybody that's donated, and thank you to everybody else for having a good chat and everything. Hopefully you've enjoyed the new Geiger counter. Tomorrow I will probably film a proper video of that Geiger counter, showing it on, you know, working with different things. But I'll also be probably filming a video this week on making my own particulate respirator. I have seen some big 3M ABEC ones for like the bayonet fitting ones, and they are expensive, yeah. Let me just see if I can find the one you're on about quickly before I go off. Yeah, I can see the ones that's like £48 for a pair on Google at the moment, if they're the ones you're on about. I know 3M do some RD40 filters as well, don't they? But yeah, the 3M big ones, especially the ones where they've then got the big particulate pad on the side as well, yeah. £30 to £40 price, yeah. Right, thank you Laser Point Production for all your donations as well. And yep, see you everybody. So yep, be doing some more videos in the week. I'll be doing a stream tomorrow, but tomorrow's stream will probably be around 6 PM. So anyway, yeah, cool. See you all then. Alright, cool. So these are even bulkier ones, are they, Laser Point? But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'll see everybody. Otherwise I'm going to be non-stop working out which particular filter this was, but yeah. So they're an even bigger one. Cool, right. So yeah, right, thanks everybody, and I will be streaming tomorrow. Tomorrow's stream is actually going to be gas mask themed. So it's just going to be a gas mask theme stream for respirator answers and questions and everything. Cool, see you then, bye.